The top 5 fake excuses to return your guitar. Hey, it's me, Baxter.
And me, Jonathan.
Back with some great, let's just start with some bullshit excuses on how to get that guitar returned if you don't want it. It doesn't always work.
Sure.
But this is from being in the guitar shop world and like from working in them to going to them to loving all the stuff out there. We've seen everything. So we'll give you some basic tenets, some
helpful hints.
ideas.
How to return your
How
guitar.
this works. Okay, so number 1. You want me to do it?
Go ahead.
My neck is twisted. First off, you go first.
First off, I don't think everyone knows that it's bullshit. Like, I think people believe sometimes their neck is twisted, but to hear people tell it like every third guitar neck is twisted, like irreparably. One of our friends even messaged me the other day, and he's like, "Hey, let's listen. Like, you know, I've heard these stories, and is that like a big problem?" And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, it's not a real problem. Like, I've seen very, 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 very few. But you know, you take your guitar somewhere and you talk to a tech or a luthier, and there are good luthiers, but you know,
no, sometimes
not always.
There's not.
And you know, you just, they're like, oh my God, the neck is twisted or warped. And hey, maybe it is like a micro.
Well, let's pause there for a minute too. Let's go back and I love most of the luthiers we work with. They're fantastic, dear friends of ours. But sometimes you got to remember, a luthier is like a car mechanic. No offense to car mechanics as well, but and they need the work, so they got to find something wrong with it. Hey, maybe your oil pan or your radiator's leaking. It's not leaking, or maybe tires need to be rotated. They don't need to be rotated.
Well, it's like when you go to, you know, like the Firestone, and they give you that list. Like, if you know, you're probably going to die if you leave here and you don't do this $1,000 worth of extra work on top of your oil change.
I went to Pinehurst Toyota to get the basic turn signal thing fixed on my 2007 car or whatever, because it broken off. I needed to turn my lights on apparently, and but then they had a list of, like, you know, $4,800 worth of more stuff wrong with my car. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna do it anyway. So just buyer beware there. Sometimes you just don't like the guitar. That's okay. Number 2.
Or is it?
You do this one.
Number 2. It's too hard to play.
And now, this can be a real reason, but it can also be it just needs a little setup.
Sure.
Or you haven't played guitar that much yet.
Maybe you suck.
No. No, guitar is honestly hard to play.
It is hard to play. Well, I mean,
it's a hard instrument to play.
It blows my mind. This is all stuff we see sort of over and over again. People will come in, they'll play a guitar, they'll try it. You'll spend all this time with them. They'll take the guitar home, and then they'll bring it back and say it's just too hard to play. And sometimes they're like comparing it to another guitar they own, sometimes not.
Well, it's like my Martin D28 doesn't play as easily as my 3/4 size nylon string children's guitar I got at Walmart. I wanted to play as easily as that.
Probably not gonna.
And it won't. So it's just not. Sometimes they're, and don't get us wrong, disclaimer, sometimes there is something wrong with your guitar, obviously.
Well, sure.
And we get 10 to 15% of the guitars we get from our manufacturers has a little tiny something that we deem wrong, but most of that is because we're micromanagers and we want them to be perfect when they're
Some of it is personal, right? Like, I've played guitars with my friends that they just shredded up on that I play, and I think, God, I hate the way this feels.
So if you
So,
played a bluegrass guitar, player's guitar,
yeah.
it's like, it's hard to play, man.
right. So sometimes it's just a setup, you know? But I think there's this psychological thing where you can psych yourself out. I think because this guitar feels weird to me right now, it'll never be okay. It'll never be right. And that's just not true.
Number 3, the frets buzz. Buzzy fret syndrome. Here we go again.
How many times
I'm going to be a dick here.
have people called you and be like, oh my God, Baxter, this guitar it's just so buzzy, and they get here and they're like, oh my God, it's so buzzy, and you take it out and you're like, ding, 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 and it's
I'd say,
totally
honestly, that's probably 95% of the time. Now, sometimes your guitar is buzzy. I had a gentleman come in just the other day where he's like, my guitar's buzzy, it's horrible. And I looked down, I was like, it's going to be buzzy. I can tell before I did it because the weather's changed, humidity's changed, the neck is popping out. We just had to truss rod it, chick, chick, a little bit, bam, down, perfect.
But he thought we had done something weird.
He thought maybe the pin was wrong when the restring happened.
Yeah, that was
he
just
didn't buy the,
restring. That
he didn't
wasn't
buy the guitar
return-
from
no,
us.
he didn't buy it from us.
It was just it was a nice guitar. No, the Frets Buzz, it's usually your technique.
No, and again, there are like legit things that might need
100%.
fixing, but a lot of times.
Sometimes there are. Now, but it's almost always like, it's almost always the technique. And
Well, but the
where you put the
psychology,
finger.
right? Because some of it, they'll be like, "Oh my God, you hear that?" And I'll be like, "No, I really do. I don't." You know what I mean? Like,
And
we've had
sometimes
that
you
too.
want to hear something wrong with it because you're trying to find an excuse to like,
buyer's remorse.
there's the buyer's remorse and there's the fun of buying a new guitar.
Yeah.
Like when you buy a new guitar, it's exciting. Once you've done it, that thrill is over. You need to buy another guitar.
You think there's a letdown there? It's like
Yes,
you know,
sometimes
there is. Sometimes there's like a, oh, it's over.
Number 4, this one sort of lives in the same world.
Intonation.
Oh, the intonation.
Oh man.
Again, if you're just joining us, top 5 BS excuses on how to return or why to return a guitar. Intonation. This is even recently discovered on a Bukovic video, I believe. Where he's just showing like, he's like, hey, you know, people come in, they're playing their D-shaped chord up here, and when you hit these chords, you bend the strings in, and when you bend the strings, if you press it too hard, you bend it, it's out of tune now.
There's an art to playing in tune. I don't know if I possess it, the required skill, but there are people who just play. They just sound in tune all the time. And some people just don't sound in tune. Again, now you're bad about it. Baxter doesn't set his intonation, so you have to take what he says with a grain of salt. But you do need to do your intonation, especially in electric guitars.
You bend it into tune yourself a little bit.
Whatever.
It's-
Lies.
They didn't have intonation experts back in the 1700s.
Oh my God. Probably did. But yeah, no, I mean, that's one of those things where you're like, I don't know if you know what this word means. What's wrong? But it's, and you know, especially an electric guitar, it's so really easy. You just adjust the friggin' saddles and you carry on.
It is. Now, sometimes your intonation can be off, and it's fixable. That's another.
That's what I'm saying.
Again, this goes to setup. This is where we throw the curveball after we sort of just ran over our luthiers. Now we're going to lift them up a bit. Someone's a good luthier and a good guitar tech can really get your guitar set up to where it's playing amazing. Sean does great work.
Yeah.
On like somebody's,
That's my.
so electric guitars, he does
He
great
does.
work. And it's fun. Like, we have guys coming on and oh my God, my guitar plays so much easier. It's in tune, it's intonated. Like, it's so much action and magic happens in the saddles. Electric guitars and acoustic.
I mean, it's kind of funny that Sean's gotten so good at that. Because I feel like he was like okay at it, but now the last couple of years it's like he's really good at it. Like, wow,
He was like a rookie trading card. You didn't think, like Babe Ruth rookie.
never gonna work out.
Number 5 was controversy. We had 2 sort of options on this one. So we're going, So we went with the controversial one. Because this is the one that we hear every once in a while of people like, this is the excuse before you buy the guitar on why you think it's bad, or after you buy the guitar and you think it's bad. And it's just funny. So, John.
I just can't bond with it. I didn't bond.
And the equal one, it's just too heavy.
Well, there's that.
There's that. It's like, so both those
That is
together.
true.
That
is true.
That's what we sort of came up with. And the bonding thing is funny because I've been thinking about that. I used to say that sometimes too. And then I realized I think I can bond with almost any guitar. Like if it's a guitar that's decent, set up well, has okay pickups in it, I can have a great time playing it.
This could almost be a separate video, right? Like, what does that mean to bond with your guitar? Because there's a lot of guitars I have that are some of my favorites that I did not. It was not instantaneous, right? Like it took maybe even months of like getting used to them.
Well, sometimes because it's so different.
Yeah.
Than what if you're a Strat Tele guy and you switch to Gretsch or Gibson, or if you're like a hollow body cat, you switch to
Some solid.
or I mean, if you've been married for 15 or 20 years and like you want to date around a little bit, it's weird at first, right, John?
It's strange, very strange.
I think that's one of the ones Christy watches.
I'm sure.
I could throw a hand. At you.
It's great. But it is. I mean, sometimes you have to say, "Hey, I want this thing," and then realize what that thing entails. Like it feels different. It has these weird little quirks, and then get used to that. Right. Gretsch is a good example. Like you said, that Gretches are weird, quirky little guitars. But
I want to see the whole danger. This whole reason we're doing this video too is like, which is ironic. It's dangerous is we've all become sort of armchair experts because of YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, like we all like, you think like, and sometimes you just have to go back to the old days of like think about number 5 and all these other ones too. But 5 in particular, people didn't care what the guitar, if the guitar was heavy, if it was set up, what woods it was made out of. You know, they just cared like if it made noise sometimes. Like you look at Clapton he was grabbing pieces out of like trash.
Literal barrel.
barrel to make his most iconic guitar they made all the beautiful music on.
I
Check
think
ourselves every once in a
the
while.
danger there, I think, not the danger, because none of this is that important or serious, but the thing there that I hate, right, is that becoming the YouTube expert, it robs the joy out of this thing, right? So you get this new guitar, instead of just being happy and getting used to it and like learning to make it work, you're like, oh my God, what if my neck is twisted? Oh my God, I think my intonation's weird. You know what I mean? Like it becomes this thing that puts your focus on all the wrong places instead of, hey, I got this cool new guitar. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to realize how it works and figure it out and go and make something cool with it.
And we've all been in this for a long time, and we love it. And you started to think you're going to get jaded, or you feel like you know how the sausage is made. And every once in a while, they just trick you with the magic sauce. That you're like, I don't understand how this guitar is so good.
It's true.
And we've seen every guitar under the sun, I feel like, from the greatest vintage ones to the most amazing new pieces from the Fender Custom Shop to the most perfect Taylor to the most wonderful 1975 D35 Martin. It's weird, I threw a 75 in there, right? Sometimes they're good too. Don't believe everything you read.
Sometimes there's a fantastic one.
There's lots of them.
No,
So it's just take the joy for it. Enjoy it and have a little fun with this list too. This is all meant to be humorous, and you'll probably like realize you said some of this dumb shit too along the way, because I certainly have.
and sometimes guitars are trash, so we understand. There's exceptions for all these. These are true, but
There are trash
they're
bunches of
generally not.
guitars, and some that should never have left the factory. But
There's lemons.
it's only 85% of them, so don't worry about it. That was sarcasm. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's probably your guitar. Your guitar's probably trash.
It's probably a twisted neck, and it's on fire. And it's haunted. That was on the list.
I saw this meme the other day where the parents go into their kid's room and the dad tells him, son, everyone in the world can read minds except you. You're the only one who can. And then he just walks out, and the mom and the dad are like laughing hysterically, and the kid's just laying there with his eyes. Everyone's guitar's great, but yours sucks.
When I saw Denzel Washington speaking at the sort of panel just on the internet last night, and he was talking with all these other great people like De Niro, like Scorsese, all these other people were there. And he was like, just remember, guys, we make movies. It's not that big of a deal. You know, I can see them sort of like being like, what do you mean? Like, 'cause everybody's like, we changed the world. We're the palette of society and humankind. It's like, no, we just make movies.
Yeah, remember when they all got together and sang that song?
Yeah, it changed everything.
Changed everything,
Changed everything.
Fixed all the problems.
And when you're in line for the Taylor Swift era's movie thing, you're like, this is going to be the most. It's fun. You're going to see a movie. We're talking about guitars. If this doesn't bring joy, if you get angry about it, just do something else. Pick up pickleball. And damn you for it, but start playing pickleball.
I'm fine with you playing pickleball.
It's just that noise it makes.
I mean, it's funny.
I'd kill myself if I lived next to a pickleball court.
Movies and music are important, but only if they bring joy. That's how it changes, right? I mean, I think, or awareness or whatever you bring.
Is it weird that you like horror films sometimes then too? Because that's a weird anxiety. Anyway, on that note, click like, subscribe,
Hit the bell.
have fun, and send us your BS excuses on why you don't like a guitar too.
I've played 10 guitars. They all had work next. Yeah, okay. It's cool.
So I'm gonna go home
And the
think about Dune 2. Coming soon.
It's coming.
Napoleon's coming sooner.
Goodbye.